Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about a new homeowner, a micromanaging neighbor, and a security system that didn't just shine, it blinded. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. He tried to enforce fake rules, so I lit up his world. I bought a house in a nice neighborhood, partly because it didn't have an HOA. The real estate agent I used told me after I signed the contract to purchase that the seller had told her that the next door neighbor was a pain in the butt. I found that out the day we moved in. We got to the new house about 10 minutes before the moving van arrived, and the neighbor was out there trying to talk to me as it was pulling in. He wanted to tell me the way things worked in the neighborhood. I told him we could talk about it later, but he stayed there trying to talk to me as I was directing the movers while they unloaded the truck. Eventually, I went into the house, and he was right behind me, but I told him not to come in. He stood on the edge of his yard watching everything. Once the truck was unloaded, I stayed inside, and eventually he returned to his house. When I came out to move my car so the movers could get out, he cornered me again. He had all kinds of rules. He left for work at 5 a.m. and he expected no noise of any kind after 8 p.m. The previous owners were lax about yard care, in his opinion, and he expected that I would correct that. My mailbox needed to be moved farther away from his property line. I put up with half an hour of this until I finally told him I had to go back inside to start putting things away. He was waiting for me, or my wife was sort of complaint almost every day. Listening to him, I was pretty sure that he was coming over before I got home to do an inspection. After a couple weeks of nonstop bitching, I had had enough. My wife and I planned things out. Just before I went to bed, I hit the panic button on the remote to my car. The alarm went off, and even though I could have stopped it with the fob from the inside, I walked out and shut it off a couple minutes later. He was waiting for me after work the next day and complained to me that the alarm woke him up. I did the same thing every 2 or 3 nights. The first couple times he was waiting for me when I got home from work to complain. I told him I suspected someone was trying to break into my car and was going to buy a couple cameras to monitor that side of my house. His house was close to my driveway, and he told me that surveillance cameras were not allowed, that it would be an invasion of his privacy, and he would take me to court if I were to put up cameras. That told me he was coming over. So I replaced the outside light fixture on his side of my house with a motion detector. The guy at Home Depot told me that 300 to 500 lumens were the recommended brightness. I could test the light with an app on my phone. After installing it, I bought 2 floodlights from an online sporting goods store that was made to light a sport field. They were 42,000 lumens each, and when they lit up, it was much brighter than daylight in my yard and on the side of his house, bright enough to play baseball and hit a fastball at night. The alarm on my car stopped going off, but the lights would come on at random times when there was an intruder. When he went out to his car in the morning, it became daylight. He complained at first, but I simply told him that I was securing my property. Eventually, he put up some sort of blackout shutters on his bedroom windows. The whining became very infrequent, especially when I, being a good neighbor, changed the timer setting on the lights so that they weren't lighting up when he left his house. You really tried to be civil. You bought a home with no HOA for a reason, and then this wannabe block captain came marching in like he's the president of the neighborhood standards enforcement. The audacity to walk into your house during move-in? That alone deserved a tripwire and a moat. But you were patient. For a while. And our second story. My driveway, my rules, why I had my neighbor's car towed. I live in a suburban neighborhood with my husband, and we've been here for about 5 years. We have a double driveway, enough to comfortably fit both of our cars. Our neighbor, Karen, moved in about a year ago. On the surface, she seemed friendly enough, an older woman in her late 50s, always quick with a smile and a wave. But things have started to go south between us, and it all started with parking. It wasn't an issue at first. A few months ago, I came home to find Karen's car parked in my driveway. Initially, I thought it was a mistake, so I knocked on her door and politely asked her to move it. She apologized, explaining that her driveway was full because of a guest, so she parked in mine. I let it slide this time. But then it kept happening. It wasn't just Karen's car either. Sometimes her guest cars would be parked in my driveway too. I'd come home to find her car there, and I'd knock on her door to ask her to move it. Every time, she'd apologize and move it. But the problem kept happening, and her responses started to annoy me. "It's not like you were using it right then," she'd say, as though that made it okay for her to use my driveway without asking. The final straw came last week. My sister-in-law, SIL, was visiting, and I specifically asked her to park in the driveway so she wouldn't block the street. When we came home from running errands, Karen's car was in the driveway again. I was absolutely furious at this point. This wasn't a mistake anymore. This was a recurring issue that had gone on long enough. I knocked on Karen's door and told her that this was the last time she was parking in my driveway, period. She immediately got defensive, saying I was being unreasonable. "I only do it occasionally," she argued. "It's just a driveway, not a sacred space." But to me, it was simple. It was my driveway, and I had asked her to stop multiple times. She didn't have the right to keep using it without permission, and I wasn't going to let it slide any longer. Since then, things have gotten icy. Every time I see her outside, she glares at me, and I've noticed her giving me the cold shoulder. My husband thinks I might have overreacted and that I should have just let it slide, especially since she's older and it might not be worth the drama. But I feel like I'm entitled to some respect, and my property shouldn't be treated like an open parking lot. Update. Things came to a head this morning. I woke up early for an appointment, only to find Karen's car parked in my driveway again, blocking me in. My husband had already left for work, so I knocked on her door and waited for about 15 minutes, but there was no answer. I even tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. At this point, I was running late and completely fed up. I'd asked her countless times to stop parking in my driveway, and nothing had changed, so I called a towing company. They showed up quickly, and before I knew it, Karen's car was hooked up to the tow truck. That's when Karen stormed out of her house, furious. She started yelling at me and the tow truck driver, calling me petty and insisting that I could have just waited a bit longer or left a note. I calmly reminded her that I'd already asked her multiple times to stop parking in my driveway, but she wasn't having it. She ended up having to pay the towing fee, and now she's absolutely livid. She's been telling the other neighbors that I'm a vindictive control freak, and a couple of them have hinted that I might have gone too far. Even my husband thinks I could have handled the situation differently and avoided all the drama. Now, every time Karen sees me, she glares at me, and the tension between us is thick. My husband is annoyed about the whole situation too, but I still stand by my decision. It's my property, and I shouldn't have to keep asking someone to respect my space. Whether or not Karen can see that is up to her. I've done what I needed to do. You were way more patient than most people would be. I mean, how many times do you have to politely say, "Please don't park in my driveway," before it sinks in that your property isn't her overflow lot? Let's be honest, towing her car wasn't petty, it was inevitable. You gave her more chances than she deserved, and instead of correcting her behavior, she doubled down with that smug, "it's just a driveway" attitude. And our last story. Can't sit? Then take a hike. Hey Reddit, I'm Amy, 19-year-old female from a small industrial town in the U.S., late 2010s. We have an HOA with a collective stick up its backside, and the head stick is Mrs. Karen Grayson, dried up like an August cow pie, skin all wrinkles on wrinkles, face caked in blush like a circus clown, and a permanent "I'll see you in court" glare. 2 months ago, Karen already went to war with Mom. Mom had parked her old Plymouth across from the park to toss a trash bag in the bin. In 30 seconds flat, Karen managed to call her a dope fiend casing houses, a stroller thief, a menace to decent folk. Mom just sniffed, "Sweetie, I'm 10 years older than you. Dial back the fantasy." I let it slide until today. It's noon, 90 degrees. I'm in a light cotton dress sitting on a brand new oak bench in my favorite park, the one Dad donated after he bought the vacant lot from the developer. In one hand, a glass bottle of lemonade. On my lap, a transistor radio playing Fleetwood Mac. Karen spots me and charges like a bull terrier hearing a whistle. Karen, curling her lips, "Off the bench. It's for Cherry Meadows HOA residents only." Me, taking a calm sip. My house is right across the street, next to the White Maple. Karen sniffs. "That house is rented by some laborers. Rules are clear. Owners only." Me, "Really? Check the sign. It says public park." She reads it, huffs a sacred, then jabs a finger at my chest. You some kind of lawyer? Don't quote rules at me. Scram, I'm calling security. Be my guest. Karen folds her arms, taps a stiletto, painted lips trembling with rage, into her phone. Yes, she's still here, pink dress, drinking something suspicious. Me, it's lemonade, ma'am. Want a sip? Nice and cold. Karen, trying to poison me? Security finally waddles up, mustache Dylan in a crumpled uniform and cap 3 sizes too big. Dylan, puffing authority. Ma'am, you need to stand. Karen says you have no right to be here. Me, rising, still smiling. Have you read the zoning register? Dylan, scratching. Karen said. Karen snatches my lemonade. She's littering with glass. I fold my arms, patience wearing thin, when my phone rings. Dad's calling. We'd planned lunch. John, 55, bald as a cannonball, powerlifter shoulders, indigo slack, suspenders. He already heard Mom's story and seems eager for a cameo. Dad, remember that funny Karen? Yep, she's at it again. Park. Karen sneers. Oh, Daddy's girl calling Daddy? Honey, the rules. 10 eternal minutes later, Dad screeches up in a dark blue Ford LTD. Door swings wide, out steps Dad, burly, bald, bearded. Karen gulps so hard her makeup cracks. Dad, deep baritone, what's going on? Karen, mustering courage, your daughter is unlawfully using private property. Dad points at the public park plaque and plants himself between us. Private, huh? I bought this land and deeded it to the city on condition of open access. Are you saying the city answers to you? Karen, but we're the HOA. We pay dues. Dad, hands on hips, biceps popping. You pay dues? Great. I pay 70% of your local taxes through my mill, employs 400 townsfolk, including your son-in-law, if I'm not mistaken. Karen, meek. Well, yes, but Dad turns to Dylan. Jack, didn't I sponsor your daughter's cheer uniforms last year? The whole squad? Dylan, crimson. Yes, Mr. Turner. Sorry, sir. Karen's last gasp. Turner, you can't restrict us in our own neighborhood. Dad smiles. Really? We'll see. Then to me, hop in the car, kiddo. Next morning, my alarm rings at 9. I peek outside, 3 flatbeds unloading 60 sections of cast iron fencing. Dad's foreman barking orders. Along the HOA side, solid wall, 8 foot. Gates? None. Lincoln Drive entrance only. Let 'em walk. Karen storms out in a robe, comma-shaped brows drawn on. This is illegal. We'll sue. Dad, without turning, file away. Land city-owned. I got the mayor's permit. Safer park. Only 2 entrances now. 2 days later, job's done. To reach the playground and those benches, Cherry Meadows residents must hike a 15-minute paved detour instead of a 2-minute shortcut. On the new fence hangs a modest sign, Real townsfolk welcome. Love thy neighbor. Or do cardio. A week later, the mayor treats Dad to lunch, thanking him for enhancing community harmony. Tuesday's paper runs, Businessman Turner funds new park lighting. Karen, every morning she drags her poodle the long way around, wailing under that sign. That Turner, that daughter, that fence. And I sit on the same bench, sipping lemonade, transistor humming the Eagles. Sometimes I wave after her. Enjoy the cardio, ma'am. Karen's silent. What can she do? She can't unbolt the bench. As Dad says, some folks don't listen to nice. Now Karen's got plenty of time to think. Every extra mile to the park. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.